Don't miss out on important news. Our videos are being deleted. So if you don't want to be cut off from honest news, take a moment to sign up for our newsletter at newsletter.ntd.com so you don't lose access to NTD. Go to newsletter.ntd.com to sign up for our evening newsletter.
The autopsy results are in for the U.S. Capitol Police officer who died after the January 6th Capitol breach. According to the Washington, D.C. Medical Examiner's Office, Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick suffered from 2 strokes and died of natural causes. Sicknick was on duty when the Capitol was breached on January 6th, and reports implied that an incident with 2 protesters may have caused his death. The results from the autopsy pose a challenge for prosecutors in the case, making it difficult for them to charge the 2 men with murder. However, it was noted that the events on the 6th may have contributed to the strokes. And the trial of former police officer Derek Chauvin has concluded, with both sides wrapping up their arguments. Now it's up to the jury to deliberate and come to a decision. NTD's Christina Kim gives us key moments from the closing arguments.
The prosecution said Chauvin's actions weren't policing, but murder.
It's exactly what you saw with your eyes. It's exactly what you knew. It's what you felt in your gut. It's what you now know in your heart.
Slisher said Chauvin showed indifference to Floyd's pleas for help.
George Floyd's final words on May 25, 2020 were, "Please, I can't breathe." And he said those words to Mr. Officer. He said those words to the defendant.
Derek Chauvin is being charged with 2nd-degree and 3rd-degree murder, as well as 2nd-degree manslaughter. If convicted, he faces up to 25 years in prison for the harshest crime. The defense presented their closing arguments for over 2.5 hours. Attorney Eric Nelson reminded the jury that it's up to the prosecution to prove that Chauvin is guilty beyond reasonable doubt.
The state has failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. And therefore, Mr. Chauvin should be found not guilty of all counts.
Nelson said it was nonsense to argue that Floyd's heart disease and drug use didn't play any role in his death. The prosecution argued that Floyd's cause of death was a lack of oxygen. And he said the prosecution focused on the 9 minutes and 29 seconds of the infamous body cam footage, but that doesn't tell the whole story.
This was an authorized use of force, as unattractive as it may be. And this is reasonable doubt.
Nelson points to the fact that Floyd was acting erratically and resisting arrest. The jury will deliberate and come to a conclusion on this issue. They can choose to convict Chauvin on all, some, or none of these charges. Christina Kim, NTD News.
Criticism pours in over Congresswoman Maxine Waters' controversial remarks at the Minnesota protests over the weekend. The House Minority Leader says he will take action against Waters for inciting violence. And he's not the only one. NTD's Allison Lee has the latest.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said on Sunday that he will take action against Democrat Congresswoman Maxine Waters this week if House Speaker Nancy Pelosi does not. He says he believes Waters is inciting violence with what he calls dangerous rhetoric. On Saturday night, Waters joined anti-police protesters in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota.
We have to let people know that we're not going to be satisfied unless we get justice in these cases. And so I just could not sleep, I could not rest, I could not be satisfied without coming here.
Her response to a reporter's question is circulating widely on social media. A reporter asked her, what should protesters do if former police officer Derek Chauvin is acquitted?
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active, we've got to get more confrontational, we've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
Waters and Pelosi's offices have yet to comment on the remarks. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said on Sunday that she will soon introduce a resolution to expel Waters from Congress. She also started a petition for it. Greene claims Waters' remarks led to a drive-by shooting in Minnesota against law enforcement on Sunday morning. 2 Minnesota National Guard members suffered minor injuries from it. Republican Senator Ted Cruz also reacted to Waters' remarks, saying, Democrats actively inciting riots and violence, they want to tear us apart. Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert says, why is Maxine Waters traveling to a different state trying to incite a riot, and that Maxine Waters would already be expelled if she was a Republican. This is not the first time Waters has come under fire for controversial remarks. Back in 2018, she told protesters at a rally that if you see anybody from the Trump cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd, and you push back on them, and you tell them they're not welcome anymore anywhere. Allison Lee, NTD News.
The U.S. is redirecting military focus and resources from Afghanistan to China as it prepares to pull U.S. troops from the region. Secretary of State Antony Blinken defends the decision, saying that the terrorism threat has moved to other places. NTD's Don Ma has more.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. is shifting focus from Afghanistan to China. He responded to comments this weekend about President Biden's decision to remove troops from Afghanistan. On Sunday, he told ABC's This Week that Afghanistan is not as big a threat anymore and that it's time for the U.S. to redirect resources elsewhere.
The terrorism threat has moved to other places, and we have other very important items on our agenda, including the relationship with China, including dealing with everything from climate change.
But China's foreign ministry wasn't pleased with the statement. Responding to U.S. comments linking the removal to China, a spokesman called the message detrimental to trust and cooperation between the U.S. and China. Last Wednesday, Biden announced that all U.S. troops will be pulled out of Afghanistan by September 11th. He says that it's time to end the forever war. September 11th marks 20 years since the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda attacked the United States. 9/11 was a major factor behind sending U.S. troops to Afghanistan 2 decades ago. The move to withdraw U.S. troops has raised concerns that terrorist groups could once again expand in Afghanistan. In the interview, Blinken offered reassurance that things have changed in Afghanistan. He added that the U.S. will continue to monitor the situation and will provide support if needed. Mirroring Biden's announcement, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, known as NATO, agreed to withdraw troops as well. Around 7,000 troops from mainly NATO countries will also leave Afghanistan by September 11th. Don Ma, NTD News.